But Noga Reuveni had a problem. Why are there 4 big monuments and probably 2 other which are little? But at least we can see here 4 big monuments. Each of them looks more or less the same. If Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, built a monument on the grave of Rachel, why did he build 4 monuments? Noga Reuveni explains this fact by saying that this is the way of commemorating Rachel, not building 1 monument, but 4 monuments, which make the monument much bigger and much more impressive, and it reduces the chance that it might be destroyed. If 1 monument is destroyed, then 3 others are left. If another is destroyed, 2 others are left, and so on. So he built here 4 monuments to make sure that these monuments remain to the end of the generations. To the end of the generations, as written in the Bible. As written in the Bible, that the monument erected on the tomb of Rachel remains until this day. And according to some commentators, until this day means every time in the future it will remain. But there is maybe another theory, which I suggest, that can explain the fact, first of all, that there are 4 big monuments here, and the other fact, which we must explain, why and how come that another tradition appeared, the tradition which we regarded as problematic, but it is the common, the mainstream, the central theory or tradition which exists is the theory that identifies the tomb of Rachel south of Jerusalem, in Bethlehem. My explanation is very simple. This Wadi Kelt, was not only the border between Benjamin and Judah, it was also the border between the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah. We know that after King David and King Solomon, the United Kingdom split and 2 kingdoms appeared. The northern, the kingdom of Israel, and the southern, the kingdom of Judah. The border between these 2 kingdoms was closed because King Jeroboam didn't want the people of Israel, the 10 tribes, to go to Jerusalem. So it was closed. The border was here. We know very clearly that the border was here because the Bible tells us, for example, that one of the kings of Israel, northern kingdom, he built the city of Ramah right next to us as stronghold, as a military stronghold. The southern stronghold of the kingdom of Israel was in Ramah, which is located right on the northern back of Wadi Kelt. So the border was right here. Probably the people of Judah couldn't come from Judah to the tomb of Rachel. So they built a monument, some kind of alternative monument in Bethlehem, so that they could come and pray and worship on the monument of Rachel. But the people of Israel had another problem. They were disconnected from Hebron. In Hebron, we know, in Me'arat HaMachpelah, all the fathers and mothers of the people of Israel are buried. Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Leah, and probably also Bilhah and Zilpah were buried there. And the tribe of Judah was disconnected from this side, from the tomb of Rachel. So the 10 tribes, they built additional monuments here to commemorate the other mothers, Sarah, Rebekah, and Leah. These are the other three monuments built around the central one. The central one, according to some archaeologists, is the oldest, while the others are a little bit younger, about 3,000 years. One to the north, one to the east, and one to the south. And two other little monuments were built to the west of the site, probably commemorating Bilhah and Zilpah. So this became a site which was devoted to the mothers of Israel. What happened in the time of the Second Temple, that most of the Jews who came back to the land of Israel were from the tribe of Judah. And they were used to come to pray in the site of Bethlehem. So they continued coming and praying in Bethlehem, and the original site was neglected and later even forgotten. Probably this site was also used by the 10 tribes as a site of idolatry. We can see in the middle of the monuments, we can see remnants of altars. And we know that in the time of the Bible, the people of Israel used local altars in different places. So probably this was also a place of alternative altars. So this may be another reason why the tribe of Judah in the time of the Second Temple didn't want to come back to a site which was connected with idolatry. So thus appeared two traditions. Even in the time of the rabbis, of the sages, we hear about two traditions. Rabbi Meir tells us that Rachel is buried north of Jerusalem, and Rabbi Yehuda tells us that Rachel is buried south of Jerusalem. So even at the time of the rabbis, there were two traditions, but the people went to pray in Bethlehem, in the site, in the monument of the tribe of Judah. And this site was forgotten until the Six-Day War, in which Noga Reuveni, I was privileged to learn from him. He was my teacher when I was a student in high school. He came here right after the Six-Day War and found these monuments and identified them as the tomb of Rachel. From now on, I believe that even if we continue going to the traditional site, we shall not forget the original site, the place north of Jerusalem where Rachel, our mother, is buried.